Welcome to our deep dive, into Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own.
A room of one's own.
Um, this book, it's a lot more than just a how-to for writers, I think.
Yeah.
It's really a look at what women need to be creative, like really creative.
Yeah.
So we're going way back in time to 1920s England.
Right.
But, stick with us because the ideas are surprisingly relevant.
Yeah. I mean, it's fascinating how Woolf sets up her argument.
Okay,
She says straight up that women need two things, money and a space of their own.
right.
But then she kind of flips the script.
Yeah.
That room, it's not just a physical space, right?
Absolutely. I was just thinking about that. Like,
Yeah.
if someone said, okay, go be creative, but you can only do it in this tiny closet,
Exactly.
I'd be like, what?
It's about autonomy, right?
Yes.
It's about freedom from all those expectations and interruptions. Yeah, all those things that just drain your energy.
Yeah.
And Woolf experienced that firsthand, especially compared to the resources that men had,
Yeah.
at universities like Oxbridge. She writes about visiting these lavish men's colleges
Oh, wow.
with their fancy dinners and their libraries that are just overflowing with books.
Yeah.
And then she contrasts that with the women's colleges,
Okay.
which were struggling just to get by.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, seeing those inequalities like side by side,
Right.
it makes you really feel that frustration.
Yeah.
Do you think that's why she chose this storytelling approach?
Oh, absolutely.
Like weaving in those anecdotes and personal reflections?
Yeah, I think it makes her argument way more impactful.
Right.
You're not just being lectured to,
Yeah.
we're experiencing it with her.
Yeah.
And then she throws in this fictional character, Judith Shakespeare,
Oh, yeah.
who's supposed to be William Shakespeare's, equally talented sister,
Right.
but she's stifled, tragically stifled.
That part really got to me.
Yeah.
Just imagine having all that potential,
Yeah.
but no way to express it.
Right.
Just because of, limitations that are placed on you. It's not about a lack of talent, right?
Yeah. No, not at all.
It's lack of opportunity.
Exactly. And that leads to another point that Woolf makes about how women are often portrayed in literature.
Oh. Okay.
Think about those classic roles like the muse,
Right.
the temptress,
Yeah.
the devoted mother.
Yeah.
Where are all those complex, flawed, brilliant women
Yeah.
who are driving their own narratives?
Right. It makes you think about how much has really changed
Right.
in how women are represented, even in today's books and movies.
That's a great question for you, listener.
Yeah.
When you look at the media that you consume,
Hmm.
do you see those same tired tropes?
Yeah.
Or are women's stories being told in new and authentic ways?
Right. Something to think about for sure.
Yeah.
Now, I thought it was interesting how Woolf tackles the idea of anger
Oh,
in writing,
Yeah.
especially when you're dealing with injustice.
It's a very nuanced point.
Okay.
She acknowledges that anger is a valid response,
Yeah.
to oppression, but she cautions against letting it consume your work.
Yeah. She seems to admire writers like Jane Austen
Right.
and Charlotte Bronte,
Yeah.
who took that anger and channeled it into storytelling.
Like that.
But wasn't just like a raw outburst.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance,
Right.
acknowledging the anger, but creating art that kind of transcends it.
Right.
And this ties back to her insistence on financial independence for women.
Hmm.
Remember her famous quote about 500 pounds a year?
Yeah. Yeah.
In Woolf's time, that was a lot of money.
Yeah. And it wasn't just about the money itself. It was what that money represented.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It represented the freedom to live independently,
Yeah.
to pursue your passions without being beholden to anybody.
Right.
It's about freeing your mind from worry,
Hmm.
so that creativity can blossom.
So how often do we put off our own creative pursuits?
Right.
Because we're just busy, trying to make ends meet.
Exactly.
Yeah, that hits close to home for a lot of us, I bet.
I think so.
Even today, even with crowdfunding and all these grants specifically for female artists,
Right.
those barriers are still there.
They are.
Yeah.
It's a constant struggle for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But Woolf reminds us that financial stability,
Yeah.
however you get it,
Right.
can be a powerful tool for unlocking creative potential.
Yeah. And speaking of unlocking potential,
Yeah.
we have to talk about Woolf's writing itself.
Her style.
It's so captivating.
It really is.
So lyrical, thought-provoking.
Yeah.
She blends fiction and sharp criticism so seamlessly.
Right.
It's like she's having a conversation with you right there on the page.
Absolutely. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
just about the message. It's about the way she crafts it.
Yeah.
It's like she's saying, pay attention, not just to what I'm saying,
Yeah.
but to how I'm saying it.
Hmm.
There's a real artistry there.
Yeah. And that artistry makes her ideas even more impactful, wouldn't you say?
I think so, yeah.
It's not just an intellectual exercise. It's an experience.
Exactly. And that's something I hope you'll experience for yourself, listener.
Yes.
If you choose to read A Room of One's Own,
Yeah.
pay attention to how she weaves together those complex ideas
Oh.
with such beauty and clarity.
Now, it's amazing how relevant Woolf's insights still feel today,
Oh, yeah.
even though she was writing almost a century ago.
Yeah, it speaks to the enduring power of her observations
Yeah.
about human nature, about creativity,
Right.
about the societal forces that can either nurture or stifle that spirit.
It's not just a book for women, is it?
No, not at all.
It's a message that resonates with anyone who's ever felt that yearning to create,
Yes.
that need for space and freedom
Yeah.
to express themselves.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the heart of this deep dive,
Okay.
exploring how we as individuals and as a society can create environments
Yeah.
that allow that creative spirit to flourish, regardless of gender background or financial status.
Because ultimately, it's about creating a world where everyone has the opportunity to find their own room,
Right.
both literally and figuratively.
And that, I think, is a goal worth striving for.
So as we move into the next part of our deep dive, I want you to think about this.
Oh.
What are the spaces, both physical and mental, that you need to nurture your own creativity?
Yeah.
What conditions help you thrive?
Right.
What obstacles do you face?
Keep those questions in mind as we delve deeper into A Room of One's Own
Okay.
and explore the ways that we can all contribute to a world where creativity flourishes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we talked about financial freedom, right? But
Right.
I'm curious about like the societal pressures that Woolf saw
Yeah.
that really limited women's creativity.
Right.
Like what was the atmosphere like back
Yeah.
then?
Okay, so imagine this. You're a woman in the 1920s,
Okay.
and you have this, like, burning desire to write,
Mm-hmm.
but society has this very specific mold for you, right? You're
Yeah.
expected to be a wife, a mother, a caretaker.
Right.
Your creative pursuits.
Yeah.
Those are just hobbies. Something to do in your spare time,
Yeah.
if you even have any.
Right. So it's like society is saying, sure, you can be creative,
Right.
but only within these very narrow boundaries.
Exactly. If you step outside of those boundaries,
Yeah. Yeah.
you risk being labeled as, like, unconventional or unfeminine or even rebellious.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So Woolf really saw how these pressures,
Yeah.
like combined with the lack of education and resources,
Right.
just created a stifling environment.
Yeah. A very stifling environment.
Yeah, for women writers.
For sure.
And she argues that this lack of freedom really prevented women
Yeah.
from fully exploring their potential
Right.
and contributing their unique voices,
Exactly.
to the literary world.
She believed that women had stories to tell,
Right.
insights to share,
Yeah.
that were just as valuable as the insights and stories from men, but they were being silenced by these societal constraints.
Wow. It's like she was anticipating this whole concept of the male gaze. You know how it shapes our understanding of the world? For those who might not be familiar with that idea, could you unpack that a little bit more?
So think about how women are often portrayed
Okay.
in art, in literature, and film.
Okay.
It's usually through a male perspective, right?
Yeah.
Catering to male desires
Okay.
and expectations.
Right. So Woolf was really critiquing that.
She was.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was arguing that literature needs more diverse voices, more perspectives.
So instead of trying to fit into, the existing literary conventions
Right.
that were shaped by this male-dominated perspective,
Exactly.
she was encouraging women to like find their own voices, their
Yeah.
own styles,
Right.
and express themselves authentically.
Exactly. She even criticizes
Mhm.
the tendency for women to imitate male writers.
Oh, really?
It's like she's saying, don't try to be a second-rate Hemingway.
Yeah.
Be a first-rate.
Yeah.
You embrace your own experiences, your own
Yes.
observations, your own truths.
I mean, this call for authenticity and originality,
Right.
that's so relevant today.
It is.
Don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, in a world that's just saturated with content,
Yeah.
it's those unique voices
Right.
that really stand out.
Right. It's not just about standing out, though, right?
Yeah.
It's about enriching the literary landscape
Exactly.
with, all these different
A
voices.
tapestry of voices.
Yeah, that reflect, the complexities of the human experience.
I like that.
Yeah.
A tapestry of voices.
And so in a way, she's advocating for a more inclusive
Yeah.
and representative literature,
Absolutely.
one that gives voice to the marginalized, to the unheard.
Yes. And not just in literature,
Yeah.
but in all forms of creative expression.
Right. And she even suggests that the shift in perspective could lead to like a more just
Yeah.
and equitable society.
Right.
She saw literature as a tool for social change.
Yeah.
You know, challenging the power structures
Right.
and giving voice to those who have been silenced.
I mean, this makes me think about the writers that she admired.
Yeah.
Like Jane Austen, Charlotte Bronte.
Right.
They were writing in a time when women's voices were often dismissed.
Yeah.
Yet their work has endured.
It has.
Their centuries.
Yeah, they were pioneers.
Really were.
You know, carving out their own space
Right.
in this male-dominated world.
Exactly.
Telling stories that resonated with readers
Yeah.
across generations.
And they did so without sacrificing their own unique perspectives.
Right.
Or compromising their artistic integrity.
Yeah, it's inspiring to think about their legacy.
It is.
And how they helped shape the literary landscape that we have today.
Absolutely. And it's a legacy that Woolf wanted to build upon
Yeah.
with A Room of One's Own, encouraging women to embrace their creative power
Okay.
and contribute their unique voices to the world.
Now, you mentioned earlier that Woolf uses history
Yes.
to strengthen her argument.
Yeah.
So how does that play out in the book?
So she doesn't just analyze the present.
Okay.
She actually goes back in time and examines the historical factors that shape the conditions for women writers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she looks at the limited educational opportunities for women.
Right.
The societal expectations that, kept them in those domestic roles and the lack of financial independence that kept them dependent on men.
So she's really making this connection between the past and the present.
She is.
Showing how these historical inequalities contributed to the challenges that women writers faced.
She's arguing that these issues didn't just appear out of nowhere.
Yeah.
They're rooted in centuries of, patriarchal structures and societal norms.
Right. It's not just about like individual women overcoming obstacles.
Right.
It requires a societal shift.
Exactly. A much broader societal transformation.
Right. That addresses those root causes of inequality.
Yes. And this brings us back to her central theme. The need for a room of one's own, both literally and metaphorically.
It's not just about having a physical space to write, right?
No.
It's about having the freedom, the resources, the societal support to pursue your creative passions without being limited by these gender roles or this historical baggage.
It's a powerful message.
It is.
That transcends time.
Yeah.
And resonates with a lot of us today.
It certainly does. Now, before we move on, I wanted to touch upon something we haven't really discussed yet.
Okay.
Which is Woolf's use of language.
Yes. Her writing style.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, it's captivating.
It is.
The way she blends those complex ideas with personal anecdotes and historical analysis.
Right.
It's all just so beautifully woven together.
She's both intellectually rigorous.
Yes.
But also poetically sensitive.
She doesn't shy away from challenging topics.
Right.
But she does so with a certain grace and wit that makes her writing a pleasure to read.
There's a rhythm to her prose.
Almost like a musicality.
Like she's composing a symphony of thoughts and ideas.
Yeah.
All harmonizing to create this really profound and moving experience.
And she doesn't just tell you what to think.
Right.
She invites you to think alongside her.
Yes.
To question assumptions.
Yeah.
To see the world from different perspectives.
It's both thought-provoking and inspiring.
It is.
You walk away with this sense of wonder and possibility.
That's the magic of Virginia Woolf.
It is.
Yeah.
So, listener, as we continue exploring A Room of One's Own, I encourage you to pay close attention to how she uses language to illuminate these complex ideas and evoke emotions.
Let her words challenge your assumptions and inspire you to think differently about the world around you.
And most importantly,
Yeah.
let her message of creative freedom and self-expression
Okay.
ignite a spark within you, urging you to find your own voice and contribute your own perspective to the world.
Now, I know we've covered a lot in this part.
We have.
But before we wrap up,
Okay.
I want to kind of turn our attention to something crucial, which is the practical applications of Woolf's ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, these insights aren't meant to be just admired from afar.
Right.
They're meant to be engaged with, applied to our own lives.
You're absolutely right. Let's connect Woolf's message to the present moment.
Okay.
So while the world has changed drastically since she wrote A Room of One's Own, Many of the challenges that she identified still resonate today, even if they manifest in different ways.
Right, like the struggle for financial independence. We've made progress, but economic disparities still impact creative opportunities.
Yeah, for many.
For many, regardless of gender.
And it's not just about money either.
Right.
Think about the room metaphor.
Okay.
Do you have a space, mental or physical, where you can shut out the noise and really focus on your passions?
Yeah, what steals your time and your energy and your creative focus?
Exactly.
And what about those societal expectations that Woolf critiqued? Are there pressures subtle or overt that make you question your own creative worth?
These are important questions to consider.
They are.
Even if the answers are uncomfortable.
Right.
Because awareness is the first step toward change, both within ourselves and in the world around us.
So Woolf reminds us that this fight for creative freedom, it's ongoing.
It is.
Both individually and collectively.
It's about challenging those limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Pushing back against those societal constraints.
Right.
And demanding the resources and support that we need to thrive.
And it's about recognizing that everyone has a story to tell.
Right.
A perspective to share.
A creative spark waiting to be ignited.
Right. But sometimes that spark needs a little kindling.
It does.
To catch fire.
So what can we as individuals do to nurture our own creativity and support the creativity of others?
Well, for starters, we can create our own rooms.
Yeah.
Even if they're metaphorical.
Right.
We can carve out time for our passions, protect our mental space, and refuse to be afraid to experiment and, express ourselves authentically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We can challenge those limiting beliefs that hold us back.
Right.
The I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
The I don't have time. The what will people think?
Right. Those are the voices that sabotage our creative endeavors.
Exactly.
And we shouldn't underestimate the power of community.
Right. Yeah.
Seeking out like-minded individuals.
Yes.
Joining workshops and groups.
Yeah, creating spaces where creativity is celebrated and encouraged.
Because as Woolf so eloquently argues, creativity thrives.
It does.
In an environment of support, encouragement, and shared passion.
And when we create those spaces, not just for ourselves, but for others, we contribute to a richer, more vibrant, and ultimately more just world.
A world where everyone's creative potential can flourish.
Exactly.
So as we bring this part of our deep dive into A Room of One's Own to a close, we'll leave you with this question to ponder.
Okay.
What kind of world do you want to create? One that stifles creativity or one that nurtures it?
The choice ultimately is yours.
It is.
Go forth.
Yeah.
Find your room.
Yeah.
And let your creativity bloom.
And if you haven't already,
yes,
we highly recommend picking up A Room of One's Own.
Yes.
And experiencing Woolf's brilliance for yourself.
It's a journey worth taking.
It is.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
Yes.
And keep those creative sparks flying.
So we've explored so much of A Room of One's Own.
We have.
The symbolism of the room, Judith Shakespeare, those societal pressures.
Yeah.
Even Woolf's captivating writing style.
It's amazing.
It is.
How these ideas from almost a century ago still feel so relevant.
Yeah, it's a testament to Woolf's insight.
I think so.
I mean, she tapped into something so fundamental about, the human need to create.
Yeah.
And the forces that can either, help or hinder that creative spirit.
I love how she didn't just diagnose the problem.
Right.
She offered solutions for individuals and for society.
That's what makes A Room of One's Own so empowering.
Yeah.
It's not just a lament, it's a call to action.
It is.
So in this final part of our depth dive, let's shift our focus to those solutions.
Okay.
What are some practical steps we can take to create those rooms for ourselves and for others?
Well, Woolf's own life actually provides some valuable insights.
Oh.
She was a really strong advocate for education
right.
and financial independence for women.
Yeah.
She understood that those were essential foundations for creative freedom.
But it's not just about those external factors, right? There's also the inner work that we need to do.
Absolutely.
Confronting those limiting beliefs that hold us back.
Woolf herself battled with self-doubt and anxieties. She understood the power of those inner critics that can really stifle our creative impulses.
Those voices that say, you're not good enough, or who are you to try this?
Exactly. And silencing those voices is a crucial step in creating our own rooms.
It's about cultivating that self-belief, giving ourselves permission to create
Yes.
Even if it's messy,
right.
imperfect,
Or conventional.
unconventional.
Yeah.
And what about the role of community? How can we support each other's creative journeys?
Well, Wolf was part of the Bloomsbury Group,
Okay.
which was this circle of writers and artists and intellectuals
Right.
who challenged conventional thinking
Yeah.
and supported each other's creative endeavors.
So she understood that power
Yes.
of surrounding yourself with people who inspire you,
Exactly.
who challenge you.
Yeah, so finding your tribe, whether it's an online community or a local writing group,
Yeah.
or even just a few trusted friends
Right.
who share your passions.
Creating those spaces where creativity is celebrated.
Yes.
Not judged.
Where we can share ideas, offer feedback,
Yeah.
and encourage each other to take risks.
It's about building that supportive network
Right.
that helps us through those moments of self-doubt.
Yeah, the self-sabotage.
And sabotage.
Because creativity thrives in a culture of encouragement and collaboration.
When we feel supported and understood,
Yes.
we're more likely to take those creative leaps and share our work.
And that act of sharing, putting our creations out there, is essential.
It is how we connect with others, how we contribute to the conversation.
Right, how we make our voices heard.
How we create a richer, more diverse, and more vibrant cultural landscape.
And ultimately, that's what Wolf was advocating for. A world where everyone has the opportunity to find their voice and to contribute their unique perspective. So as we wrap up this deep dive into A Room of One's Own, we want to leave you with this. It's not just about reading a book. Right. It's about embodying its spirit. Yes. Taking Wolf's insights and applying them to your own life.
Right.
Your own creative pursuits, your own interactions with the world.
It's about creating those rooms both for yourself and for others.
It's about fostering a culture of creativity.
Right.
Not just in the arts, but in every aspect of our lives.
And recognizing that each of us has a unique contribution to make a story to tell, a spark of creativity.
That's waiting to be ignited.
Waiting to be ignited.
So, dear listener, go forth. Find your room.
Find your room.
And let your creativity bloom.
And if you haven't already, pick up A Room of One's Own. Experience Wolf's brilliance firsthand.
It's a journey that will stay with you.
It will.
Long after you finish the last page.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes, thank you.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep those creative sparks flying.